Hello everybody. This is my first video on Roblox Studio, really. Um, I have made a couple games in the past, and I would like to share some knowledge on what I do have for coding and building, and really just some tips for people who maybe have never even opened up Roblox Studio. This is like a little beginner series. I'm releasing 3 videos at the time for, different things you'll learn about Roblox and code and see how good it does. And if you guys want more of this, like and subscribe for Bean Baby. Okay, now let's get right into it. Now, this might look simple, but if you look up, there's a lot of stuff here. So, what do we do first, you might ask? If you were on this newer version, I recommend you do go on to this newer version of Roblox Studio. You will see all of this. Now, it's really confusing. You don't know what any of these do, really. But what you do want to open up are these two. You should see an Explorer tab and a Properties tab. These are very important on, changing the properties, which is what the Properties tab mostly is, of, let's say, a part in your game. And the Explorer will help you access more parts in your game. Okay, but we want to open these. It's not guaranteed that they would be like this, but I like putting Explorer on the right and Properties on the left. Of course, you can put these wherever you want. It is completely your choice. I'm just going to be doing this. Okay, what you don't want to worry about right now is terrain, character, or really any of this stuff for right now. Let's spawn in a part. You see this little button with the square on there? You're gonna click that, left click. Now you have a part, and you can move around the studio with WASD and arrow keys. And if you want to turn around, you hold right click and you can move your mouse. You're gonna get pretty used to this if you do use Roblox Studio a lot. Okay, but we have a part here, and all we can really do right now is just hold left click and drag. Can't really lift it up or anything. So if you want to know how to do that, gonna go up here above where my Properties tab is. You see select, move, scale, rotate, and transform. I wouldn't use transform. That's really later stuff that you would know how to use. But let's do move. Can use these arrows in all of the ways you see. We've got arrows, you can move them. I'm gonna put my part right here. Of course, these numbers are like kind of how far you're moving it, like into higher and negative numbers. It's not that important, but that's how to basically just move a part. Nothing much. But you know what? I want to rotate this part, so I click the rotate button. All right, now you see these little circle line things, right? And if you actually go to right up here next to the select, move, scale, and rotate, you see 0.1. It could be different for you. It definitely might be different for you. But you see these numbers right here. You can change these to whatever you want. You know what? I'm gonna make this 1. 1 studs. You see these little arrows? That means how far you move it. Now I'm moving this 1 stud at a time. Instead of it being really smooth, I'm moving it in a grid. And the second one below it, that is the rotate. But the higher you make it, the more, less it will spin when you rotate it. But I really like keeping these smooth, like both of them being 0.1, so I can move these and turn these really smooth. Now this is pretty simple, but let's say I put my part in the air, and just let's play our game. Let's test it out. How would we do that? All the way at the top left of your screen, you should see a little test icon. You can click that, and it has different settings like test here, run, servers and clients. Don't worry about these for right now. We can get into that later. But for these two, we have test and test here. Now you automatically have test selected, so let's click the blue triangle play button. Now we are in our game, Might take a minute to load, but as you see, the part is on the ground. But didn't we make it up? Isn't it supposed to be up? When I load the game, it falls. How would we fix this? What you have to do, select the part, and while you have it selected, go to the top, and a bit to the middle, a bit more to the right in the middle, you see that anchor button. I'm gonna go ahead and click that. Now let's test it. The part is now in the air, it is floating. It's really just there, it's just hanging around. The anchor button puts whatever, it could be, it could be rotated, it could be whatever. The part is like this. But let's say you want to make a wall. Let's say you want to make a wall that goes from here to here. What would you do? Pretty obviously, you would go up here and click the scale button. It's a bit similar to move, as you can see. There's still like the same ways that you can go with it. But let's do, we want to make a wall, right? So let's hold this and drag it. You can move with it too, and drag it. You can also make this taller, wider. You can do a bunch of things with it. We can rotate it if we want to. And if you make a really bad mistake you don't want to do, like you do this and you want it to make it normal, you can hold Control and then Z. Then it goes back. Let's do it again. Now it's upright. Now let's test our game, see if it works. Here we go. We have a singular part for a wall that we can jump over. It's pretty cool. At any time, if you are not understanding this, you can go back, and every once in a while I will be live streaming. You can just ask me a question on the live stream, or maybe leave a comment on the video. I'll answer it if you have any questions, if you're confused so far. But let's say it's kind of a bland gray color. We should change it to like a brick wall. That would be cool, right? A brick wall. It's really not complicated for when you're normally building in Roblox Studio. So we're going to select this. And if you go to properties, wherever you put the properties, you see a bunch of this big confusing stuff. And you normally wouldn't see this if you don't have it selected. If you click off of a part, it unselects it. You normally don't see that because you're selected on nothing. Select the part. A lot of weird, complicated stuff is here currently. But at the very top, you see appearance, bright color, cast shadow, and another color, material. This stuff is pretty later, like there's can collide right here, which basically if you turn this off, you can walk through it. And anchored, there's also an anchor button here if you don't want to click this. But a lot of this stuff I don't really fully understand. Like, it's pretty hard to understand most of this down, but let's just focus on up here. So if you click brick color, you have all of these selections. Of course, you can do more by clicking the color button, like the one down. Then you can make it really random instead of having to pick from one of these if you want. But let's pick like a good brick wall color. Let's do this. This is pretty good. Now what? Material. You see this material below color. Plastic. The default material for when you spawn a part, you see these like little dots and stuff. This is the plastic material. But we want to make it bricks, right? Click plastic. Might have to click it a couple times. But all of these open. Like it's a bunch of material. You can make it snow. See? Really simple. But we want to make it brick. If you want, and you don't have to look through the entire thing, I'm just going to click B. Basalt, brick. It's kind of in alphabetical order. And there, we have a brick. Of course, it's, not really like bricks. So you know what we can do? We can rotate it to the position it's supposed to be, or the orientation. We can do this. Now we have a brick wall. Let's see. just a normal brick wall you can climb. It's really just a brick wall. It can't do anything. But what if we could walk through it? Select the part, you go to properties, and all the way down, can collide, can touch. Don't focus on anything here. Just focus on can collide. Can turn that off. Now, got this. Can walk through it. Okay, so I have this green part here, and I want to make it spew out some particles, like some nice bright green particles. That would be cool, right? So let's try to do that. Select properties. Nothing's here for particles. So what would we do here? We actually don't use properties if we want to make particles go onto this part. We don't need to do any scripts. Roblox has its own built-in particle system. But do you know what we do need? We need the Explorer. So let me show you a bit about the Explorer. So it probably looks something like this to you right now, if you've been following along. Then you've got like text chat service. You can change like the look of your chats and stuff to like a different thing. Let's just do this and see what happens. See, look, it changes the fonts. You can just say hi. You see it, like it changes the font right here. You can do a couple things with that. But we're not going to be focusing on much of this. Like we've got starter player, starter pack, starter GUI. We can do that later. But for right now, we're focusing on workspace. Workspace has most of the parts and models in your game. Like base plate, like the base plate that you stand on. This is in the workspace. And you might have noticed you can't click on it and stuff, you can't access it because it is locked. If you can only access it in the workspace. You can't select it just by, the main screen. So you click on base plate. You see this lock button? It looks a bit like anchored because lock is on, it's toggled. So if you click that, you can officially select the base plate. You can change the color of it. You can do many different things. But for right now, we're just gonna keep it. Let's make it a green base plate, actually. Yeah, just like a little green base plate. Pretty nice. But let's go to this part here. We have it selected. You can also select parts here in the workspace. If you hover over it, like hover over your mouse on the part in the workspace, you see this little plus icon. You can add a bunch of stuff to this, but 90% of this you really won't be working with. So you know what we're gonna spawn in here? You can search what you want to spawn in, and we want it to spew out some particles, right? So you know what? Let's search up particle emitter. You see this? Now there's some particles going out of the part. Nice. But it's not. I want it to be like lime green, like the part. It really doesn't match. So what do? Can't select it. Can't select it here. We have to select it in the workspace. Now you might see here that if you try to look in the workspace for the particle emitter, you might not see it. Well, that's because the part we have here, remember how we hit the plus icon on the part? That means that the particle emitter is in the part. See this little arrow to the left of the part? Click that. We found the particle emitter. You can rename parts to whatever you want. I'm just gonna name this to emitter. Just because. But we can also rename this particle emitter to particles. But we want to make this a different color. Like I said, we can't select it in the main screen. So let's select it from the part. Just click on it. You can click on it. And go to properties where we change the color and material of that brick wall from earlier. We see color. You might see a couple other things like size. We can change this to like 10 and it makes them really big. But, okay, you can also change the squash. Yeah, it's really weird. You can do a lot of cool stuff with this. You can also spawn more. I like messing around with particle emitters. They're really cool. But, we want to change it to lime green. So you know what we're gonna do? Gonna click on the color, get lime green, just like the part. Now it matches absolutely perfectly. It kind of looks like a checkpoint, but this is pretty cool, I think. And we can also add parts to the same part. I mean, you can add parts just like we did with the particle emitter. We can add another part, and if we select this part, it also selects the other parts. You can see that it also selects the other one and moves with it too. If you do want to access this part separately, you can go into the workspace, click on that part you want to separate, and you can just move it around in the same thing. But if you do want to, and if you don't want it inside of this part, you can just hold and drag it to the workspace, and it doesn't move with the other part anymore because it's in the workspace and not this part.